I am Doomsvince, and this is day 67 of Spawn Year.
There is a peculiar drive and energy to this issue that's lacking much of the time in this series. It's hard to maintain a sense of urgency when you're deliberately striving not to get anywhere until your arbitrarily chosen landmark issues you know are coming and when and vaguely what you want to happen in them, with no plan for how to use the comics in between to get you there. Or at least that's the sense I get from Todd McFarlane, evidenced by all the letters he writes in the spawning ground saying how many issues he wants it to be before such and such happens. And the sheer amount of stalling and unnecessary recap of the stalling would seem to support that that's how he operates. He has ideas, but he doesn't allow his story and his characters to drive the narrative to where he wants to go, or to go somewhere else entirely, as he would discover often happens if you allow your tale to unfold organically. But McFarlane is an artist-turned-businessman who rarely draws his comic books anymore, so we've got a story that's supposed to be the tragic personal journey of a man fighting his demons, as Grandma Blake says in this issue, in both a real and metaphorical sense, plotted from a corporate CEO mentality. So of course the drama and intensity and sense of momentum is revved up this issue. 50 is a big landmark number, and Todd has big plans for it, as he's been hyping up in the letters pages for at least a dozen issues. I've given McFarlane a real hard time in these entries, and admittedly being in a strange hell that seems to be on some other level of existence or another sure makes that easier, as I'm not confident he or anyone else will ever read these. And regardless of execution, I do really like a number of his ideas and concepts. It's all the pointless interlude masquerading as narrative that dilutes and convolutes everything that might otherwise work. If it were more about entertaining and crafting a story over selling a product, McFarlane might have thought to simply move from idea to idea, communicate those and however many issues they naturally took to communicate, and then just keep going with some new ideas. So here, finally, Spawn asks Cagliostro for help, after he's nearly physically consumed by his costume as it mutates into an enormous, shapeless mass of disgustingness. It continues, we still don't know why, to evolve at a much faster rate than it should, the only thing in this book that can claim that distinction, and Al is making it easier for it because he's ready to throw in the towel and let it consume him and everything else. It feeds on his emotions, and he's giving it a banquet. So the mysterious Cog, sans cat, comes to Spawn's rescue. Without fear, he allows the now unrecognizable creature that was Spawn's costume to devour him. It finds Cog's taste foul, spits him out, and then Cog spouts orange scribbles at it, which instantly forces it to devolve back into the Letha, daughter of the 7th House of K we all know and love. Hey, Al's got sucked-in sad Spawn face. He's in excruciating pain, and he can barely function. Quick, give him some kids to save and we'll have a great Spawn story. I actually like a lot of Spawn's defeated inner monologue this issue. He's reacting to these unfathomable things the costume is doing to him in a pretty understandable way, starting with deciding he has nothing to fight for. Bulgy took his family from him, and he fought his whole life, and all that fighting ultimately got him is this nightmare of a second life. Then he moves on to anger at God for creating the evil that made all of this possible in the first place. This isn't wasting panel space like a lot of internal monologue before it. Here, we're actually in Al's head in the way we should be. He's not just whining, he's internalizing, trying to make sense of the twisted world he's trapped in. It's too late in the game, but it's better. This is like watching Al go through the last 3 stages of grief, maybe a little out of order. Here, depression seems to come before anger, and he finally seems to be at the stage of acceptance at the end, when he asks Cagliostro for help. He was in the denial stage for a really long time. I wish we'd seen Al at this place around, like, issue 12. Again, it's working harder to keep the reader engaged than usual. I like that when Cog breaks into Spawn's solitary confinement hut, we see his dismay, but we have to wait a couple pages to see what he's looking at. But I did roll my eyes hard at those next 2 pages because they come right out and confirm that I've been reading pages and pages of uninteresting villain posturing that's been rendered pointless, at least to Spawn's development. Sure, something's causing Terry to black out, a worsening of that mysterious illness he contracted and keeps ignoring, and that's bound to be connected to Wynn and Clown's plans, but the whole point of that was to keep Spawn off balance, and Spawn hasn't even been made aware of any of that. Regarding Spawn's costume's rapid mutation, Clown says, "This could save me a couple months of groundwork. Just think, not having to fool around with Wynn or Fitzgerald or Blake. Just think, me not having to read pages and pages of you talking about it. Oh wait, that's already happened. And how do you know about all this anyway? There's something about a signal taking a full 30 seconds to get to him. What does that even mean?" So this wasn't planned out at all. Meanwhile, Terry goes to a doctor after blacking out who has no idea what's wrong with him, and he blacks out again later while driving through a busy intersection and gets hit by a semi-truck in a collision so massive it changes how the word crash is spelled. There are several quick scenes to remind us where all our players are. Sam and Twitch ordering hamburgers when their car breaks down, and Sam claiming to have some surprise that will solve their monetary problems. And I can't believe my eyes, finally, it's Cygor! Just heading through New York, looking for Al. He was just outside New York last time we saw him issues ago. How long did it take him to get there? And why couldn't the fact that he has some connection to Spawn be planted when we first saw him, or at least last time, so we wouldn't be clueless as to why we were following a giant robotic ape? If only I could ask Cagliostro. That guy knows everything. Signed, Captain Logan.